Welcome everybody to the first episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy Will Royal. This is a podcast that me and Will started after our 10-year friendship. Been friends since 6th grade, and we just decided to start a college sports podcast. So let me introduce you to my co-host and one of my best friends, Mr. Will Royal.
Yeah, like Bryce said, this was something basically in the works since 2011, 2012 when we were in middle school together. I met Bryce and he automatically came out as an Arkansas fan. I'm like, I got to deal with this guy.
Oh, that's why.
Then we ended up going to high school together and, just carried on our friendship from there. And all we do is just talk college sports, especially football. But this podcast is going to cover football, basketball, and potentially baseball when spring comes around.
Yeah.
He knows a lot more about baseball than I do, so I guess I'm going to have to learn. But yeah, with football season just 2.5 weeks away, we're going to give you a breakdown starting off with the SEC teams. We're just going to give you a quick rundown of each team, and then at the end we're going to give our predictions of where each team's going to finish schedule-wise.
Yeah. So first, let us get into the AP poll. It just dropped, a few days ago. And there's 6 SEC teams. We got Alabama at 1, Georgia at 3, Texas A&M at 6, Arkansas at 19, Kentucky at 20. Kentucky at 20, Ole Miss at 21, and from the outside looking in, we got Tennessee. So how do you feel about these polls, man?
One thing to note, for those that know, big Alabama fan right here. Went to school there, grew up a fan. So seeing us at 1, it's just so lonely at the top.
Oh, is that right?
Nick Saban said it himself last year, despite going 13-2 with a Heisman winner. Last year was a rebuilding year, and I think this year we're gonna get it. Overcome the obstacles of last year and get number 19. But other than that, you were saying?
Hey, man, I'm an Arkansas fan, and we have a dark horse in KJ to win the Heisman. We've been rebuilding for a long time, man. Ain't gonna lie. And I've been hearing it from Will for a good long while. Yeah, probably the last 10 years, honestly. And, we got set back by Bobby Petrino. We all know Mr. Motorcycle. But we're going to start off in the East, man. We're going to talk about them Natty's boys from last year that whooped y'all's butt, Georgia. So I'm going to let you start with Georgia since you're a little bit closer to them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I did go to that SC championship game, and seeing the Georgia fans leave after the Jordan Battle pick 6 was hilarious. But unfortunately, they come back and beat us in Indianapolis for the Natty. I mean, give it to them. They've been suffering for 40 years. They can suffer for another 40 if I don't care.
Oh, is that right?
But they are defending champions under Kirby Smart. They are coming in as the number 3 team in the country because they did lose a lot of their defensive powers that carry them, like Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, former number 1 overall pick Trayvon Walker. Not to mention they lost their defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, who is playing them week 1 when Oregon comes to Atlanta and plays them. Looking at their schedule, their first few games are rather easy. I mean, you could easily say they have the easiest up until the end of October. And then probably one of the easiest schedules, but I do think at some point they are going to trip up. There's going to be one game where they're going to struggle. I'm not going to say which one because you never know. Like a few years ago, South Carolina, a few years ago, Florida, Auburn. It really just could be anybody that Georgia could, choke up against. They still have Stetson Bennett as quarterback, and it's his 5th year. Who knows?
Hey, the mailman, man, he gave y'all an L last year. I know that hurt, and hey, he blew us out too. So I can't really say much about Georgia other than Kirby Smart's doing a great job up there, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to bring this year. So we're going to go to the second team, the Florida Gators, with a new coach, Bill Napier.
Billy Napier from Louisiana. This is a team that I think is in the back backlash of Urban Meyer's descent. Like, Urban Meyer, a great college coach. We don't have to talk about his NFL career because we know how that ended.
We all know what Urban
But
Meyer
I do
likes doing.
think they haven't had the best coaches in terms of what has happened since Urban left, and this year I think is no exception. They are gonna, not use the same Florida we saw in the late 2000s with Tebow and all them. But I do like Anthony Richardson as a quarterback. I think he's going to get the job done in the time being. But
more AR-15.
You also have to remember this is the team that finished in the last place in the conference in recruiting behind Vanderbilt of all teams. But I think this is going to be sort of a down year for Florida, a rebuild, if you will. And we'll see how Billy does in his first year in Swamp.
Hey, no more AR-15. He took that away from him. So Florida, y'all have had some good headbutting, and Arkansas, we took Felipe Franks from them 2 years ago. So I really feel like Florida, this is going to be a down year for them. This could be the downward spiral of that program, honestly, because coming from Memphis, like me and you, we know Tennessee fans hate Florida, and hey, I know a lot of Tennessee fans are looking for the downfall of Florida. So this could be it. I don't know. So next, we're going to Kentucky, who just lost the Citrus Bowl, and they've been in the news lately. How do you feel about that, Will?
Well, first off, they won the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, yeah, they won the Citrus Bowl. My bad.
They beat Iowa. And, yeah, like Bryce said, they're in sort of a I don't know how to describe it. It's more of a Twitter beef with John Calipari, the head coach of the basketball team, more or less of who can fill in the seats more. And growing up, Kentucky was never known for football. It was always a basketball program. And now they've actually had some good players come through, and they're looking like one of the better teams in the East. But I think what Mark Stoops has done since he's arrived 10 years ago, I think he's done a great job. And I think potentially Kentucky could push for that top half and, more of like the 8-9 wins if they look at it. They start off kind of easy with their schedule. They have Miami of Ohio, easy. Florida, that could be a challenge. And then their first real challenge is October 1st against Ole Miss in Oxford, which I think is going to be a good game. But other than that, I think Kentucky is one of those surprise teams.
Yeah. Kentucky, I can see them beating out Georgia and playing whoever wins the West, playing them in the SEC championship. Hey, I wouldn't count Kentucky out right away, but hey, who knows? They could win it all in the SEC. So next, we're going to the team I dislike the most probably in the SEC at the moment, Missouri. So I'm going to let you take it away with Missouri, and you can throw it back to me.
So just last week, Missouri named Brady Cook as their starter. I don't really know much about him. I know he was a sophomore coming in. And I think it's going to be a nice change of things because they just had Kelly Bryant as their quarterback. Before that was Drew Lock. And Missouri, 10 years ago, they were coming into the conference, and they actually had a good run. They made the SEC championship back-to-back years, and ever since then, it's been kind of a steady decline. But I think, I don't know, is Brady Cook the guy?
I don't know. Connor Bates, he wasn't, real good. I guess they just wanted a new QB to see who could fit Eli Drinkowitz's system. Speaking of Eli Drinkowitz, he was in the news earlier, I want to say a few weeks ago, talking about how Tennessee cheated. And he wants him to get a dub at it from last year. So I don't know if you saw that, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see?
This is his third year now. I think this is more of a make or break year in terms of college coaches. If Missouri doesn't, perform as we expect them to, I think this could be his last year, or if not this year, then next year. Recruit-wise, I don't think really anyone notable.
Well, no, they got a 5-star. I think they got the number one or number 2 wide receiver coming in from last year on 24/7 Sports. But yeah, recruiting. They've actually hadn't been recruiting pretty terribly. I know since you're an Alabama fan, you don't really pay attention to recruiting like I do. 'Cause that's all y'all get. Y'all get whoever y'all want. So
But looking at Missouri's schedule, one of their early games I think is against a very underrated Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. That's going to be, a classic Big Ten game. It's going to be very high scoring, and we'll see how that one ends up.
Yeah. Hey, let me see what I have Missouri. I have Missouri going 6-6 next year. I haven't been saying my my records for each team, but Missouri, I have them going 6-6. Kentucky, I have them going 11-1 up there. For Florida, I had them going 5-7, and for Georgia, I have them going undefeated to win the East.
I thought we were saving these to the end.
Oh.
Hey,
we can come back to it. So
we can go back to this at the end.
Yeah, South Carolina, they won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Let me get that straight.
Yeah, I got to see their head coach get a nice mayo bath after the game. I thought that was good.
That's disgusting. Who wants mayo? Is literally just eggs. Eggs. I don't even know. I know it's the main ingredient for mayo is eggs, so that's disgusting. But yeah, they got a new quarterback.
Yeah, very surprised when I found out that Spencer Rattler left Oklahoma to take the South Carolina job.
Yeah.
I think it's the quarterback they've finally been looking for to complete that offense. This is a team that's a make or break, a contender, pretender. Start the season, it's relatively easy. They have Georgia State, and then they do travel to Fayetteville after that, and Georgia. So it is kind of tough, but they have sort of easier games towards the middle, and then at the end, of course, they play Clemson, which automatic loss because I can't think of the last time Clemson lost to South Carolina.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're going to kind of go in that middle of the pack in the East Division. I think they're not going to make a lot of headlines. They could challenge with Georgia in their game. They could challenge with Tennessee in their game. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to ask you this. Because they have been getting hyped up, South Carolina, as a program lately. And they're saying that South Carolina is their sleeper program this year. Do you see this as a contender or a pretender?
Going in the start of the season, I'm going to say contender. I think they are going to struggle with those first few games with Arkansas and Georgia. But going forward, I think they're going to keep everyone else close and finish above 500, get that bowl game, and have Shane Beamer go in the right direction that we're going to go into.
Yeah, I like Shane Beamer as a coach, and they also stole our wide receiver coach that got us Traylon Byrd and got us a lot of good recruits back in the Chad Morris days. And that's all I'm going to say about Chad Morris because I don't want to rant over him. But this year, I honestly see them. I could see them proving me wrong on my picks because I'm pretty sure I have them not doing very well. But I can see them proving me wrong and winning a couple high-end SEC games. That's not Arkansas and Georgia. But going next, we have Tennessee, who lost the Music City Bowl against Purdue. And
that's a team that we're all too familiar with growing up with Tennessee fans here.
Yeah, I hate Tennessee fans. I'm just going to lay that out right now. Tennessee fans are not my favorite and probably will never be my favorite.
Tennessee always overhyped their program. Like every year it's overhyped. They say they're going to, this is the year they finally beat Alabama. They haven't 2006. But how's that going?
Hey, all I got to say, Tennessee fans are literally Cowboy fans of college football. And I'm just going to leave that there. But Big Hen Dog Hooker. Hey, how you feel about him? People saying that he's a dark horse in the Heisman, and he had a great year last year. So
he's going to be a top 5 SEC quarterback. No question about it. This is Josh Heupel's, I think, second year now, and he did a fairly good job in his first year. coming out of UCF. But I do think this is Tennessee's year, if ever, to challenge, Georgia for control of the East.
Okay.
Schedule-wise, their biggest challenge is Pitt to start the season in Pittsburgh against a recently transferred kid on Slovis. This is a Pitt team that did lose Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison, but I do think this one's closer than what people are saying.
Hey, Tennessee did lose to Pitt last year, and it was a great game. I'm pretty sure towards the end Pitt started taking away, but yeah, I actually watched that game, and Tennessee, they're a good recruiting program. So, but who knows? Their recruits never pan out to be as good as everyone thinks they will be. But hey, who knows? They could have a great year this year. They could potentially win the East also. I have them pretty high up there. So next, we have the butt of the SEC, the pits of the SEC, Vanderbilt. That's all I gotta say. Didn't make a bowl. I don't know when the last time they made a bowl, and when the last time they actually was pretty decent in the SEC.
Yeah, it's been a few years, at least since what's his name, Penn State coach, I'm blanking, James Franklin. They've been irrelevant since he left. Yeah. I know they had one good year under Derek Mason, but other than that,
good as in Vanderbilt good, or good as in college football good.
In Vanderbilt times, I think 6-6 is about as good as they're
going to get. That's a bowl. But yeah, that honestly, why is Vanderbilt still in the SEC? I know they have a pretty good baseball program. They won a basketball SEC championship. What was that? 2012. We were in middle school.
Like that.
I remember that because this one girl that we went to middle school grew up a Vanderbilt fan. Well, we don't have to disclose her name, but that's all she would bring up is them winning SEC championship in basketball. But why is Vanderbilt in the SEC?
That's academic wise. It just makes sense.
But still, like that's not enough, honestly. Academic wise, it's not enough. I get it's college, but it's just not enough. All right.
So, looking at their schedule, they do start off the season week 0 at Hawaii, which no one's going to watch, let's be real. And then Wake Forest, and 2 weeks after that at Alabama. It's not going to be a pretty season.
No. It's not. But, hey, it's Vanderbilt. What do we expect? Like, it's not like we're expecting anything good out of Vandy. So now...
Not at all.
We go to your domain. I mean, our domain. We're going to the West. But we're starting with your team, Alabama, who just took that big old fat L to your boys in Athens, Georgia.
All right, new game for the podcast. Take a shot every time Bryce brings up us losing to Georgia. I would already be drunk right now.
Hey, that's why I got this Braves hat on, have to represent for the Georgia fans out there.
But as I mentioned earlier, Nick Saban said that last year was a rebuild year where we lost 2 games all year, including the national championship, and had the Heisman winner in Bryce Young. That just means we're winning it this year.
I don't know about that.
But this is a totally revised Alabama program. Bryce is still quarterback, but we have a new running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, who's I think come from Georgia Tech. He's going to pop off. Wide receivers, we don't have Jameson or Netchie anymore, but we do have Jermaine Burton coming in from Georgia and Tyler Harrell coming in from Louisville, who are 2 speed demons that are just going to blow them out. This is a very, very strong team. We have the Brockemeyer twins on the O-line defense, Will Anderson, Jordan Battle. All of these top-notch recruits coming in, and this is the all-or-nothing year, I think, because every recruit under Saban has won a championship, and now it's time for these last 2 classes to come and get their ring.
Hey, how about that running back room, man? I know y'all had problems with that last year. But y'all did get Gibbs. Where did he come from? He came from Georgia Tech, right?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and y'all are really high on. Well, the nation is really high on him. So I really want to see what he does, and I want to see is everyone catching up to Alabama in football in the SEC, like everyone caught up to Kentucky in basketball. I want to see, and it looks like it's heading towards that way. I don't see Alabama being the top of the food chain every year in the SEC. I see them losing more than one game a year coming soon. And hey, maybe it might be the end of the Saban era coming soon. Who knows?
Well, Saban signed on till 2028, so
hey, doesn't mean he's not going to leave early or retire.
Schedule-wise, we first time in 10 years where we don't open the season at a neutral site. Apart from the COVID year, we start at home against Utah State, who finish as a top 40 team in the Mountain West, and then after that we go straight to Austin, take on Texas. 11 o'clock game. Not super happy about that. I wish it was prime time, but Fox gets what they want. And other than that, obviously we have the first 3 weeks of October circled. Arkansas at Fayetteville, A&M in Tuscaloosa, Tennessee at Knoxville. I think those are going to be 3 important games.
Hey, last year you almost lost to the boys, man. You almost lost, bro. Oh man. And you were at that game. So yeah. If I don't think that last touchdown y'all scored was a touchdown. The ball was moving when he called it, and he went out of bounds. So all I'm saying, we should have won that game. That's all I gotta say, man.
Speaking of Arkansas delusional, let's hear it for the Razorbacks. They're up next.
Hey, woo, Pig Suey, baby.
They open up with Cincinnati at Fayetteville, and then South Carolina and A&M shortly after. Let's hear it from you, the Arkansas fan.
So, we just came back from an Outback Bowl that we just beat in Penn State. We lose one of our top weapons, probably the weapon on our offense, but we do gain former number 1 overall wide receiver and Jaden Hazelwood, and we also get a guy from Alabama and Drew Sanders, who had his chance. He had his chances there when I'm pretty sure one of y'all linebackers got injured, and
Chris Allen.
Yeah. So I think he started 2 games for y'all. Drew Sanders 1 or 2.
No, Chris Allen. He got into the Miami game.
Yeah. I forgot about that. He came in.
Him and Dallas Turner came in and they took care of it.
Yeah. So we got Drew Sanders. We also got a few more transfers that we look to come in and help us right away. I see us not looking back from last year. I don't think the Traylon Burks loss is that big. Honestly, we lost 2 DBs to LSU, but who cares? It's LSU. And also, I think KJ might be the dark horse for the Heisman this year. I don't know how you feel about that, but he's honestly,
I do think
bias. He's looking like it.
I do think KJ Jefferson is a good quarterback. I think he's going to have a great season. Heisman. I mean, when you have looking in with Bryce Young and then outside quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud, it's going to be kind of hard. But I do think if he puts up the numbers, he will be in good. Up next, the other half of Alabama, Auburn, who had kind of a downturn since, losing Gus. They brought in Brian Parson, and then is he the man for the job?
Hey, he's going to be on the hot seat this year. Hey, the Zach Calzada transfer helped them because they lost a huge Auburn fan back in the day, and a legacy guy in Bo Nix. Hey, how do you feel about your favorite team in Alabama?
I do think losing Bo Nix to Oregon is going to end up hurting them. It's a quarterback who's experienced and, has that potential to come to the next level. I think he was on that team when they beat Alabama in 2019, but Calzada coming in after beating Bama with A&M this past year, I think he's going to make a good sort of, connection. But Harsin kind of had a really rocky offseason. There were rumors of him with affairs. Is that going to play into on the field stuff? And I think this could be the year Auburn finally, or not finally, but goes down further and further than where they were 2 years ago.
Hey, I feel like he's on the hot seat, but Auburn, their running back room is pretty nice with Tanks Bigsby and the guys they have there. So that might be a bright spot, and it might help them win a couple games and take pressure off of Calzada when it comes to the big moments in the games. So now we have me and your favorite team, LSU, as we used to call them in middle school, Loser State University.
That is true. Yeah, this is a new era. Ed Orgeron is gone after winning the championship about 3 years ago with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, that whole amazing team. And they barely got over the line, finished 6-6, but ended up losing their bowl game to Kansas State. And the Brian Kelly era has kicked off. They did lose Miles Brennan. He did step away from football earlier this week, which I think is going to affect him because who's going to be their QB1 now?
Well, they got Jaden McDaniels, the transfer from Arizona State. Hey, I've seen this guy play. He was a Elite 11 quarterback. I feel like he's it. I'm pretty sure that's why Miles Brennan stepped away. He's like, hey, I want no parts of Jalen McDaniels. And hey,
yeah,
I actually don't like Brian Kelly at all. I feel like he had too many excuses before he left Notre Dame, and the way he left Notre Dame was very hypocritical. Or not hypocritical, but he really looked like a loser leaving Notre Dame like that.
Yeah.
And
I think he did overstay his welcome at Notre Dame. He was there for 10 years and only got to one championship game, which they lost to Alabama.
Hey, they made it
never able to perform well, and I think him finally leaving is a good for Notre Dame. How it's going to affect LSU. Well, he's already making a Cajun accent, even though he's from Massachusetts, so I guess anything to get recruits, even if you dance with them weirdly.
Yeah, no, not dance with them, grind on top of them. Wow. Wow, the little zoom camera, the 360 zoom camera.
Yeah, I saw that video. I'm like, this man is now in charge of the biggest football program in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's sad, and I wish nothing but the worst for LSU, honestly. So, hey. Now we got your guy, well, one of the biggest fan bases in Memphis is Ole Miss.
It is an hour away.
Yeah, it's not even an hour. It's more like 45 minutes to like 30, depending on who's driving. And hey, Ole Miss they gotta look like they struck gold with Lane Kiffin. How you feel about that?
I think he has, been a good influence in the program that's been sort of dying. Last year we saw Matt Corral, and he put up amazing numbers. They've mostly been known as like a wide receiver last year, Jerry Brown, this year they sort of have like an easier schedule than usual. Like their 4 opening games are Troy, Central Arkansas, Georgia Tech, and Tulsa, which I think are going to be, sweeps.
Yeah.
As opposed to, other teams, like, when you look at these teams, Arkansas has Cincinnati, LSU has Florida State their opening week, and Ole Miss has Troy.
Hey, and don't forget Georgia has Oregon opening week. I know they got a new coach, but it's still Oregon. Like, hey, that used to be your team, man. What happened to that?
We'll talk about that later.
We're going to talk about that when we get to the Pac-12 episode. But Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, the spring game he had was terrible. Like, it was kind of embarrassing. So I really think Ole Miss is going to have a down year this year. Don't know how many games they win. A lot of people are high on Jackson Dart just because he came from what some people call QBU in Southern California. How did you see the spring game for Jackson Dart, and how did you feel about that?
I didn't, but I saw some of his numbers. He looked, like a good replacement with the Kiffin system, and I think going forward, it's going to be, Ole Miss is on that uprise as being a good SEC team because the last few years they've always, been average at best. But I do think going in, Jackson Dart is going to he's going to use those receivers like, Corral and former quarterbacks have, and I think that's going to be very beneficial in the long run.
Hey, it's a frat school, and guess who they got as their punter? They got a guy out of a frat house, Lane Kiffin said. Does it surprise you at all? It's Ole Miss, and we know what goes down there. And it's literally one of the biggest party schools in the country. How do you feel about the frat boy as punter?
I'm surprised we haven't had that at Bama. I'm surprised that Ole Miss did beat us to that. But, I guess an emergency case, just put on the pads, kick the ball. How hard can it be?
Hey, do you think they're going to lose any muff punts or picks, kick six? You're not going to say nothing about the kick six, man?
Anyways, onto the other side of Mississippi, we have Mississippi State. This was a team that was been kind of average with Mike Leach. They lost in the bowl last year. They opened their season hosting Memphis, and then after that, it's more of Arizona, LSU, sort of these mix of SEC teams. Where do you see them going forward with Mike Leach at the helm?
I don't see them having a good year, just because the past 2 years, Mike Leach has been there, hadn't been looking good. They had once they beat LSU after they won the national championship, it's been downhill ever since. I see Mike Leach getting fired or stepping away from the program this year, and I don't see Mississippi State being good for a little while until they find that guy to help them.
Yep, and then rounding up our SEC, we have the winners of the class of 2022 with Texas A&M.
Yeah. Hey, that's Nick Saban's guy down there in Jimbo. We'll get to that in a few seconds, but hey, they've been spending that money over there, man. They got the top recruiting class. And
NIL.
Yeah, NIL close in between Dallas and Houston. It's looking real good over there in College Station. So how do you feel about that top recruiting class, man, taken away from Alabama?
I knew going in that Alabama was not going to have every single winning or number one in class, but seeing it be one of our biggest rivals in the SEC West and seeing Jimbo pleasing about it's not something we take kindly, and we do have October 8th scheduled, circled on our schedule. We want that revenge because last time we played, we lost, and it's something we've been looking forward to doing for a year. I do think their biggest game of the year is coming in week 3 against Miami, coming to College Station. But other than that, they do have LSU. Yeah, it is LSU. Max Johnson, right?
You said what?
Max Johnson. Did they transfer to A&M or am I?
A&M. Who did? Said LSU. Yeah. He did go to LSU, but Haynes Kings will be back, and he had a great beginning of the season last year. And I'm looking forward to see how he plays when they come down to Dallas or to Arlington against Arkansas. I will be at that game and see how can they avenge last year's loss to us and see if they can beat Alabama again this year. So Jimbo versus Saban. How did you feel about that when that first came out? And tell me your inside.
I mean, we see beef with coaches all the time, and I think the media was really hyping it after Saban came forward and said his thing about NILs and how A&M was overusing them or something like that. But I do think Jimbo overreacted by saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna reach out and talk to him." I think that's more just building up this fire that's eventually gonna backfire and hurt A&M.
I honestly think your boy Saban was kind of being a little crybaby. Honestly, I get it that y'all boosters are not as rich as the boosters in the Texas area, but like, come on, man. You've been getting all the top recruits illegally. Everyone pays players. Now you can just do it legally. And we know the way Alabama has their little car dealership, and as soon as you get on campus, you get a Charger or a truck.
I'm gonna plead the fifth and just my name to that.
Yeah, that's the only reason I paused. Well, that's the only reason I paused. I just wanted to see what you would say. But yeah, let's get into saying our records for this year for each team. So we can start at the beginning, even though I had kind of already started saying mine.
Yeah.
So let me start my East. Or we can go team. I'm gonna say a team, and you give the record. So Georgia.
All right. I'm saying they're going 11-1. Like I said, I think there's gonna be one game where they're gonna at the very end be 2 minutes ago or in overtime. I think Georgia is not gonna go into the SEC championship undefeated like last year. I think they're slip up once and go 11-1.
So I got them 12-0, potentially 11-1, may even 10-2, depending on how that Tennessee game and how that Kentucky game goes. I'm ready to see different teams in the SEC championships. It's literally been the same few teams for the past few years, but I can't see them making the SEC championship and maybe even making a winning it all again.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to hear that.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna go down like from best to worst in SEC, or at least in the East.
Yeah.
After Georgia, I have Tennessee going 9-3. I think, like I said, Hooker is gonna have a really good year, and Tennessee is gonna finish just barely behind Georgia. Kentucky, I have third, going 8-4. It's a good year for them at least. And then after that, I have South Carolina and Florida, both with 7-5 records. I think South Carolina's on the rise, Florida's on the fall. They're going to meet right in the middle. Missouri is my first team under 500. I think they're going to go 4-8. They were going to struggle in a few games, and I think this could be Eli Drinkwitz's last year. And then, of course, Vanderbilt at the bottom, 2-10.
So I have, I said Georgia 12-0, maybe even 11-1. Kentucky, I have them 11-1, maybe even 10-2. Because I see Kentucky, they could have the way they've been hyping up Will Levi, they could win the East and play whoever wins the West in the SEC championship. Then I have Tennessee. Tennessee, I have them 9-3. They could be higher. I could see them going 10-2, but I don't see them beating Alabama like they say they will every year. I know Will's ready to light up a cigar for that game. Then I have Florida and I have South Carolina at 5-7. Don't really remember why I have them 5-7. I really think it's because Florida, new coach, and South Carolina, I could see them making the bowl, but both of those teams making the bowl. I might have to reevaluate that. And I have Vandy, your boys. Oh wait, I forgot a team. The team that wants to be Arkansas rivals so bad made a whole trophy, a new trophy for no reason. Missouri, I have them going 6-6. I wouldn't be mad if Eli Drinkwitz's got kicked off. But then I have Vandy 3-9 because it's Vanderbilt, man. So let's go to the West. I'm gonna let you start off first.
West, I have Alabama going 12-0. I think that's kind of expected out of them. Right behind them, I have A&M going 10-2. I think they're going to lose Alabama and then one more game, possibly Arkansas, Ole Miss, someone in the SEC West. I think is going to end up beating A&M. Arkansas and Ole Miss, I have right at 9-3 apiece. I think they have really good years. Both are going to challenge for New Year's Six Bowl, and we could potentially see one of them in the Cotton Bowl, which would be nice.
Yeah.
Right behind them, I have LSU and Mississippi State going 7-5. Brian Kelly's first year in the SEC, I think he's going to struggle, but I think he's going to learn the ropes fairly quickly. Mike Leach, I think he's going to do a little bit better than last year, but they don't have Nick Fitzgerald, so who knows. And then lastly, I have Auburn going 4-8. I think they are going to struggle. I'm going to enjoy every second of it.
Yeah, for me, I have Alabama undefeated as usual. I could see them losing one or two games this year. So hey, watch out, Will. Some teams, these teams in the West are coming for y'all, man. And I also got Arkansas. I got us going at the ceiling. This is me being a biased Arkansas fan, but this is probably our ceiling is going 11-1. But I can really see us going 10-2 or 9-3 for sure. Then I have Ole Miss and Texas A&M 9-3, losing to Arkansas, and I can see Texas A&M beating Alabama again, maybe. Ole Miss, depending on how Jackson Dart plays, is depending on if they go 9-3 or higher. But I have them going 9-3, but I could see them going 8-4, 7-5 if Jackson Dart's not that guy. Then I have LSU 7-5. Yeah, Brian Kelly. He had a pretty decent recruiting class. He can make an excuse this year and say these aren't his guys. His guys hadn't developed yet or ready to play. Then I have Mississippi State. It might be the end of the weird guy Nature Boy era. Nature Boy era in Starkville. I will be in Starkville actually the first week of the season when they play Memphis, visiting their buddy. My guy Jack Hampton of Hampton Hoop Podcast. You can catch me there also. And then you have Auburn going 3-9. Brian Harsin, I don't think that he's the guy, and I don't think Auburn's going to be good for a little while. So yeah, that's my records.
And then SEC championship, I think it's going to be very close, like it usually is when it comes to Alabama and Georgia. But Bama, the bias fan, I think Bama's going to squeak out.
Honestly, SEC championship, you don't know who it's going to be, and from either side. Well, most likely for the West, it's going to be Alabama, but for the East, I feel like it's wide open. I feel like Kentucky and Tennessee could make the East, and Georgia. Well, Georgia is probably the guy you like. Yeah, Georgia's definitely going to be on. They just won a national championship. Why wouldn't they? But yeah, I can see them repeating and beating Alabama. Well, hey, they could lose to Alabama and win again. I bet Georgia fans will take a SEC championship loss and a national championship win again. I don't know. Will had that big L.
That's another shot right there.
So,
but yeah, wraps up our first episode of SRU Swin Royal University. Next time we come back, we're going to go over the other conferences and sort of break down who is going to compete for those coveted playoffs.
Yeah. Thank you, my guy, Will. I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, can't wait to do another episode.